Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be with you today. We're very appreciative of the members of the press who are here with us, but especially the members of our distinguished local governments who are here behind me. We have members, we have mayors, we have city council members, we have our emergency response folks, especially our firefighters. We appreciate you taking time to be with us here today. Because of the extreme drought affecting our entire state, the conditions, as we've mentioned many times, for catastrophic wildfires are especially high. I just had a conversation with President Biden, Vice President Harris, as well as cabinet members and many governors throughout the West talking about the catastrophic fire situation that we are all facing right now. So far, and again, these numbers are just staggering. We've had 457 wildfires reported. That compares to 510 in 2020 and 180 in 2019. So again, 2020 was a dry year. This is even drier so far this year. 368 of them, 81% of the wildfires this year, have been human-caused. Almost 58,000 acres have burned statewide. About 23,000 of those acres have been the result of human-caused wildfires. There were 65 wildfires started by fireworks last year. Let me repeat that again. There were 65 wildfires started by fireworks last year. This does not include the hundreds of urban fireworks-related fire calls that happen annually. That's why we're here today. We are urging all of you to exercise extreme caution during the July holidays. Specifically, please celebrate without personal fireworks. These human-caused fireworks destroy property and threaten lives, and they were entirely preventable. Many have said I should just ban fireworks statewide. As governor, my hands are tied on that one. As I've said before, if I could issue a ban on personal fireworks, I would, but state law does not allow me to do that. So I'm asking you, I'm imploring you, each of you, to do the right thing. And the right thing this year is to put your personal fireworks away. Communities across the state are hosting public fireworks displays because the firefighters are right on scene. These are professional fireworks shows, and it's a much safer option. Plus, we didn't get to celebrate as community members last year because of COVID, so public displays are a great way to bring us together as neighborhoods, as communities, to see friends and neighbors and celebrate the holidays together. We want that piece to happen. We absolutely want people to be together and to celebrate these important milestones and anniversaries, the independence of our country and the celebration of those who settled our state. And if you're celebrating in the great outdoors over the weekend, as many of you will be, I plead with you to exercise even more caution as in putting out campfires. Again, please look at local regulation. Campfires are illegal right now throughout much of the state, and please check local regulations. Make sure that you take a fire extinguisher with you. The campfires are completely removed and put out so cold that you can stick your hand in there. If you don't feel comfortable sticking in your hand out there, then don't leave. You're not done yet. Not parking hot vehicles on dry grass and double checking that your trailer chain is not dragging. Please be especially careful if you are doing any shooting. Much like fireworks, we would encourage you not to do any target shooting outside at this point right now because of the dry conditions. I'm so proud to join with leaders of the Utah League of Cities and Towns as we ask you to celebrate safely. Thank you so much for your leadership now and always, for banding together to encourage smart behavior during the July holidays. And now I'd like to invite my friend, the mayor of Ogden, Mike Caldwell, and the president of the Utah League of Cities and Towns to join us right now to say a few words. Mayor?
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate your leadership in this and so many other things you've done over the last little while. And I really do appreciate all those that are standing behind us in the support of this community. One of the great things about Utah is that we can come together during difficult times and accomplish really unique things together. And that's one of the things I love about living in Utah and working with this great group of leaders and these first responders that do so much. If anybody has watched the news in the last couple of days, you will know that Ogden City had a fire the night before last. I want to give you a few stats because it's amazing, and we've seen a number of these along the Wasatch Front over the last few days, and it really articulates and is a great example for why we need to take some of this seriously. For that one fire we had 80 firefighters from every single agency in Weber County. We estimate up to $5 million in property loss and damage from that one fire. We had one firefighter hospitalized. We had 22 different fire units that responded to that. And in this time, we used over 1.5 million gallons of water to put that down. We had an apartment structure that burned and 5 residents that burned as a result of that fire. As was mentioned, last July 4th, there were 65 fires caused by fireworks, which are preventable, and we're asking everybody to come together and be responsible this year. I completely reiterate what was said about the anxiety we've felt for the last year and a half and the desire to come together and to celebrate together. This is not the year to do that with personal fireworks. We can do that in many other ways, and there are many professional fireworks shows that are planned that we encourage people to come together and participate in. Please consider skipping all personal fireworks this year, and let's celebrate these holidays safely and with respect and regard to this amazing environment that we live in and to the environment we're currently working in. This extreme drought means we have far fewer resources to extinguish fires. Fuel is amazingly tight right now and ready to go. These are places we all collectively love to live, work, and play in, and let's protect those together. Collectively, we can come together, have an amazing 4th of July weekend, really enjoy celebrating our independence in this country, in this amazing state that we live in. And again, I would just implore us, our greatest strengths are our abilities to come together and address difficult issues. We're at that point right now, and we're asking everybody to come together and heed the governor's warnings and the local warnings and our local fire marshal's advice in how we approach this really, really unique 4th of July weekend here. So thank you all for being here. Again, a huge thank you to all of our first responders and all of you that answer the call every time it comes in, and to these amazing leaders that have stepped forward and made some really difficult decisions. Thank you all very much.
I'm Dan Peterson. I'm the fire chief for UFA, and I was asked to say a couple of words about our conditions. I think you heard both of them speak about the real risk that we have today. Our rain yesterday was really welcome, but today, one day will dry that out to be back in the same position we were the day before the rain. Our wildland areas are bone dry. They're incredibly susceptible to fire. Our irrigated areas are normally just not receiving the same amount of water as they used to, so the shrubs around your houses are much drier than they've been in the years past. You're going to have a challenge with that inside the cities and towns, not just the wildland area. 93% of Utah is in extreme drought. 65% of Utah is in the highest rating of exceptional drought this year. More than half of our nation's wildfire agencies are committed right now on fires, which means we may not have resources available over the next few weeks to even come to us and help with us. Any ignition around your home has the potential to spread much faster than maybe you've seen before. I think you'll be surprised how fast it's going to move. You may have done it a few years ago. I think you'll be in a challenge this year. The restrictions have been increased in many areas. Pay attention to those restrictions. But like was said, we as fire chiefs are truly asking you to skip your personal fireworks this year. Like was said, fully support the professional shows. We work as fire departments close with those professional providers and make sure that they are safe in dealing with it. And absolutely consider maybe planning for fireworks on New Year's instead of 4th of July. We want you to enjoy the 4th. We want you to enjoy the 24th. We just don't want the risk that our current weather and fire conditions are presenting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief and Mayor, for those words. I just want to reiterate, just to underscore a couple things that were said again. Conditions are different than what you would expect in the past. The Chief said that, and we've seen that. We've seen that, and again, we always worry about it in our wildland-urban interfaces, so the areas that butt up against our forests and our wildland areas, but we're seeing those types of conditions in the middle of cities. That's what's different this year, where fire can spread. we've been very fortunate in the state of Utah. We have not had the conflagrations, the giant fires that burn through entire neighborhoods that we've seen in California and in Oregon and Colorado. We've avoided some of those here in the state of Utah, but we're not immune from those, and we're certainly not immune this year. So this is not hyperbole. This is not overstatement. This is not just government being government and trying to make everything a catastrophe or emergency. This is real. We've actually been fairly fortunate. I should knock on something this year with all of those wildfires that we've had. Because people have been more responsible this year and taking this seriously, we've actually avoided some of the real big ones. But we're not even to July yet, and that's why we're so nervous. And so we just desperately need your help. And with that, we're happy to take any questions that you might have. And you can ask. We'll also have some time for some one-on-ones afterwards. But you don't have to hear from me. There are lots of people here that can answer your questions.
Governor, do you expect the legislature to address cities' abilities to ban fireworks in 2022, and what would you like to see them do?
Yeah, I expect, and I think this has been reported, I know that the legislature has said that they're going to look at the fireworks code again. I think we do this a little bit every year. My hope is that it will be a more data-driven approach. I've said this before, but what I would like to see is that we allow more restrictions in cases of, we have a drought ranking, a federal drought ranking. Again, just using the amount of water that has been received. It's a 1 through 5 scale with the exceptional drought being at the top of that. It would make sense to me, again, that when we are in a situation of exceptional drought, when a city or county or community is in exceptional drought, that we would have the ability then to impose stricter fireworks restrictions based on that situation alone, and then of course more localized decisions based on what's happening on the ground. Any other questions?
Maybe to the chief.
Chief.
Chief, so what I'm hearing is, please don't light off fireworks. We don't want you to light off your own fireworks, but if they do light off their own fireworks, what are you going to do about it? And what's the penalty?
Well, first off, the restricted areas are really clear, and they've been thoughtfully done by all the different municipalities and by the state. So absolutely, you can't do this in restricted areas. The penalties in a restricted area is initially it's a fine up to $1,000. Then you're subject to the damages and the control costs that are potentially there. That's the critical part. That's the intent. We will all have presence in those restricted areas. Our ask right now is more fundamental. Just don't light fireworks during this season when it's so risky.
And if they do,
In a restricted area, we are absolutely going to do what we can to find who lit that and hold them accountable, because if your house is burned because of a neighbor's fireworks, that's not really fair for you either. And that risk has to be dealt with. So we'll have a presence in those restricted areas.
Will there be more of a push to hold people civilly liable for wildfires?
The civil liability...
Hasn't been collected.
Well, the civil liability primarily comes from neighbor to neighbor. So if you have a right to pursue civil recovery from those neighbors, if you are lighting fires inside of a restricted area or outside of the allowed time frame anywhere, you are automatically determined to be negligent. Then it's just a matter of tying you back to that lighting of the firework. So the intent is that we will hold you accountable for that behavior and fine you, but the people that are subject to the damage will then have the power to come after you civilly.
But what about the cost of the government then for putting out the fires?
The suppression costs are part of those recovery options.
So is there going to be more of an effort to collect on those?
If we find and tie that back to you starting fires, we will absolutely pursue that.
so when you say presence, you're going to have more presence. So what does that mean?
That means that we will be doing our best to respond to the different complaints, make sure that we can find when someone lights fireworks in a restricted area. It's a large area. It's difficult to try and cover that, but we are putting more resources throughout the state in restricted areas to knock on doors and respond to the scene when there's a report. We have non-emergency lines to report you don't see a fire, but you hear fireworks. Across the state, there's non-emergency lines for you to dial dial, and the intent is we will respond out to take care of that. If people are paying attention, we may have the resources to deal with it well. But if everybody is lighting fireworks off, we do not have the resources to be everywhere.
So Chief, you talked about $1,000 fine, liability potentially in restricted areas. What about a non-restricted area where some fireworks go awry and there's a fire?
If the fire is proven, if we would be able to prove that there was negligence in your behavior with those fireworks, then you're subject to a negligent fire, yes. And if you're in a restricted area, you're automatically negligent.
And so subject to a negligent fire means?
Means that if your behavior caused the fire, then the action would be determined. It's difficult to identify specifically what would happen without the specific stories. But if you willfully started a fire with fireworks, there's a different piece than accidentally, but you can be held accountable for that. The statute lays out to the restricted areas where that fits, but it's no different than if you were to purposely start a fire with any means. That's the same action that we would take if you purposely did something with fireworks. And accidental becomes a different issue.